started with a simple promise. Real life, real soil, real family. No filters, no flashy edits. Just early mornings, muddy boots, and a woman who spoke to the camera like she was talking to an old friend. Long before headlines and heartbreak, Laura Wilson was simply documenting a way of life many people felt they were losing. And somehow, that honesty struck a nerve across the world. Laura Family Farms didn't explode overnight. It grew the same way a good harvest does, slow, patient, and rooted in consistency. Viewers were drawn into a rhythm that felt comforting. The sunrise over open fields, the hum of farm equipment, the quiet humor woven into daily chores. Laura wasn't performing a role. She was the story. A mother, a farmer, a caretaker of land and family, inviting millions into moments that felt deeply personal yet universally relatable. What made Laura different wasn't just the farm, it was her presence. Calm but strong, warm without trying too hard. She had a way of explaining hard work without glorifying it, and showing struggle without asking for sympathy. In a digital world obsessed with perfection, Laura Family Farms felt refreshingly human. Mistakes were left in. Bad days weren't hidden, and that honesty built trust. As the channel grew, so did the community around it. Comments turned into conversations. Viewers didn't just watch, they checked in. People shared their own stories of leaving city life, of missing family roots, of finding peace in simpler routines. For many, Laura's videos became part of their day, something grounding in a fast, noisy world. Brands noticed, media outlets followed. Subscriber counts climbed steadily, then suddenly. What began as a small window into farm life became a global platform. Yet even as the numbers grew, Laura remained centered on what mattered most to her. Family, land, and legacy. The camera never felt like a spotlight, it felt like a guest at the kitchen table. But behind the peaceful imagery, pressures were quietly building. Expectations rose. The line between private life and public content blurred. And while viewers saw growth and success, few could sense the weight that came with it. Because for every beautiful sunrise filmed, there were storms no one could see coming. And soon, the story of Laura Family Farms would shift in a way no one was prepared for. With growth came opportunity and a life Laura Wilson never planned but slowly stepped into. Laura Family Farms was no longer just a passion project. It became a full-scale brand. The channel crossed milestones that once felt unimaginable. And with them came sponsorships, partnerships, and financial stability that farming alone rarely guarantees. For many viewers, this felt like a win they were celebrating with her. From the outside, it looked like the dream. The farm expanded. Equipment improved. Projects became bigger, more ambitious, more cinematic. Videos weren't just about survival anymore, they were about progress. New barns, upgraded machinery, long-term plans for the land. The story had evolved from making it work to building something lasting. Laura handled this transition with care. She never flaunted success. There were no luxury cars or flashy purchases. If anything, she framed growth as responsibility toward the land, her family, and the audience that had helped make it possible. That restraint only deepened people's respect for her. She wasn't chasing fame. Fame had simply followed her consistency. But success has a way of changing the atmosphere, even when intentions stay pure. Upload schedules became tighter. Expectations became louder. Every decision, what to film, what to keep private, what to say, now came with thousands of opinions attached. The comments section, once a warm gathering place, began to feel heavier. Praise and pressure started living side by side. Behind the scenes, the workload multiplied. Farming was still farming, early mornings, physical labor, unpredictable outcomes. But now there was also editing, planning, brand communication, and the unspoken obligation to always show up. Taking a break didn't just mean resting. It meant explaining. Silence invited speculation, and consistency became less about passion and more about survival. Laura rarely complained. If anything, she minimized the strain. That was part of her strength, but also part of the problem. Viewers saw calm, capable leadership. What they didn't always see was exhaustion, or the quiet fear of letting people down. The channel that once felt freeing was starting to demand more than it gave back. Still, there were moments of genuine joy. Community meetups. Messages from viewers who said the videos helped them through grief, depression, or loneliness. Those moments reminded Laura why she started in the first place. Why the camera was turned on at all. Yet even as Laura Family Farms reached its peak, subtle signs hinted that the balance was slipping. Because when life becomes content, something always gets left behind. And the cracks were about to show. At first, the changes were easy to miss. A quieter tone. Longer gaps between uploads. Moments where Laura Wilson seemed present but distant. To most viewers, it was just life happening. But to those who watched closely, something felt different. The same platform that once felt safe was slowly becoming unforgiving. As Laura Family Farms grew, scrutiny grew with it. Every frame was analyzed. Every decision questioned. Viewers who once admired authenticity began demanding access. Why wasn't this shown? Why was that cut out? Was the farm really struggling anymore, or was it all for show? The internet has a way of turning curiosity into suspicion, and Laura found herself at the center of narratives she never asked for. Rumors began circulating. Some claimed the channel had become too commercial. Others accused Laura of hiding the truth behind curated storytelling. A few went further, speculating about family dynamics, finances, even her health. None of it was confirmed, but in the digital world, speculation spreads faster than facts. And once it's out there, it never fully disappears. The pressure wasn't just external. There was an internal battle too, the constant calculation of what to share and what to protect. Farming life doesn't pause for mental exhaustion. Crops still need attention. Animals still need care. Family still needs presence. Yet the camera kept waiting, and the audience kept refreshing. For Laura, this wasn't just criticism, it was identity conflict. The channel was built on openness, but openness now felt risky. Staying silent felt dishonest. Speaking up felt dangerous. Every option came with consequences. Some videos addressed the strain indirectly. Short comments about tough weeks or needing grace. But Laura never leaned into drama. She didn't monetize the struggle. And that restraint, ironically, made people speculate even more. In a culture that rewards oversharing, choosing dignity can look like secrecy. Then came moments that fans would later revisit with heavy hearts, clips where Laura seemed overwhelmed, voice catching just slightly, eyes tired in a way editing couldn't hide. At the time, few thought much of it. Now, those moments feel like warnings no one recognized soon enough. Because while the audience debated theories and algorithms pushed content forward, Laura was carrying a weight that cameras couldn't fully capture. And soon, the story would take a turn that would silence speculation and replace it with shock. The news didn't arrive with a build-up. It landed like a sudden frost, quiet, devastating, and final. For a community that had grown used to daily rhythms and familiar scenes, the absence was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. Uploads stopped. Social channels went still. And then the words people feared began to circulate. A heartbreaking tragedy involving Laura Wilson. Details were scarce, and that silence felt louder than any explanation. In a space that had once thrived on openness, privacy suddenly took center stage. What was shared was measured. What wasn't shared mattered just as much. Out of respect for Laura and her family, many viewers chose patience over speculation, but shock spread quickly, and grief followed close behind. For fans, it felt deeply personal. Laura hadn't been a distant celebrity. She had been a constant presence. Her voice played during commutes, her routines mirrored in homes thousands of miles away. Losing that presence, whether temporarily or forever, left a void that comments couldn't fill. The community mourned together, sharing memories of moments that now felt fragile and precious. Behind the scenes, the farm faced a reality no one prepares for. Land still needs care, but grief doesn't follow schedules. The same resilience Laura had modeled for years was now being tested in the most human way possible. The question wasn't just whether the channel would continue, it was whether life, as it had been known, could ever feel the same again. Some wondered if this was the end of Laura Family Farms. Others hoped for a quiet reinvention, one that honored the past without forcing a return to normalcy. What became clear was that the story had shifted from content creation to something far more profound: survival, healing, and choice. In time, brief updates emerged, gentle acknowledgments, expressions of gratitude, requests for space. No dramatics, no exploitation of pain. Just the same integrity that had defined Laura's work from the beginning. That consistency, even in tragedy, reminded people why they trusted her in the first place. Whether the camera would turn back on remained uncertain. And perhaps that uncertainty was the point. This wasn't about algorithms or expectations anymore. It was about honoring a life, protecting a family, and redefining what strength looks like when the spotlight dims. Because sometimes, reinvention isn't about coming back bigger. It's about choosing peace. And the final chapter of this story would be written not by views but by values. Long after the upload slowed and the noise faded, the impact of Laura Wilson and Laura Family Farms remained quiet, steady, and deeply rooted, much like the land she cared for. Legacy, in this case, wasn't measured in subscriber counts or total views. It lived in habits people changed, conversations families had, and the comfort viewers found in watching someone live with intention. Laura showed that success doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. She proved that you can build something meaningful without selling your soul to the internet. In a digital era that rewards extremes, Laura Family Farms stood as a reminder that consistency, humility, and honesty still matter. That lesson alone outlives any algorithm. The tragedy that followed her rise forced many to reflect not just on Laura's story, but on the cost of constant visibility. Viewers began asking harder questions. How much do we expect from creators? Where is the line between support and entitlement? And how often do we forget that behind every channel is a human being carrying real weight? For aspiring creators, Laura's journey became both inspiration and warning. Yes, you can turn passion into purpose. Yes, you can build a community around sincerity. But no platform is worth sacrificing mental health, privacy, or family. Laura never said that directly, but her story says it louder than words ever could. As for what's next, the truth is simple. The future of Laura Family Farms doesn't belong to the audience. It belongs to the people who live that life when the camera is off. Whether the channel remains quiet, slowly returns, or transforms into something new, its value is already secured. Sometimes, the most meaningful stories don't end with a comeback. They end with understanding. And maybe that's the final gift Laura Wilson gave the world, not just a window into farm life, but a reminder to slow down, protect what matters, and measure success by peace, not pressure. Because in the end, legacy isn't about being seen. It's about being remembered for the right reasons.